Checkma. My name is Jennifer Walton, and today I'm going to be presenting my presentation for my final for the Religion, Culture, and Indian Law class for the spring of 2024. I elected to go with option number 1, Native American Cultural Center discussion, and the title of my presentation is Unconquered and Unconquerable, an examination of the Chickasaw Cultural Center. This slide is a map of the Chickasaw Cultural Center, and it features the various attractions and exhibits available to visitors. Many of these are free and available of charge to visitors, with the exception of the Chickasha Poya Exhibit Center, unless the visitor is a Chickasaw citizen. The hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and all galleries and facilities are wheelchair and stroller accessible, and complimentary wheelchairs are available to all guests, as are golf cart transportation. This slide is going to discuss the Chickasaw Cultural Center, and the images seen on the screen are what is incorporated into the logo for the Chickasaw Cultural Center. This logo incorporates the nature, history, heritage, and lifeways of the Chickasaw people. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is located in Sulphur, Oklahoma, and opened in 2010. It's one of the largest cultural centers in the United States. The Chickasaw Cultural Center's goal statement and the purpose of the Cultural Center is to capture the essence of Chickasaw culture, revitalize and share Chickasaw culture and traditions through cultural demonstrations and community outreach activities, preserve, protect, and add to Chickasaw history through archives, collections, and research, provide educational opportunities to the Chickasaw people, and share our unique story with the world, as well as our culture. And the logo on this screen, as you will see, is 3 symbols. These are symbolic of the historic stories, artifacts, and traditions that weave Chickasaw culture. You'll see the first one is the spiral, the second is the eye, and the third is the sun. Together or separately, these symbols of the logo define our Chickasaw heritage and culture and are found in an assortment of architecture and exhibits throughout the Chickasaw Cultural Center's campus. The spiral symbolizes the wind, which is representative of each person's passage from birth through life and into the afterlife. The second picture in the middle, the eye or the ogi, all-seeing eye, symbolizes how our people view the world around us. The sun, the third and last final image, is symbolic of providing light and warmth. It stands for rebirth, the heavens, and the giver of light, or our creator, Abba Benili. You'll also notice that the color red, kind of a muted orangey red, is used in the background of our symbols. This is also symbolic to Chickasaw culture. It reflects our warrior spirit and signifies the color, or the color red signifies the danger, blood, and warfare. The next slide is an overview of the Chickasaw Cultural Center. And we're going to talk about various exhibits and things that you will see when you first enter the Chickasaw Cultural Center. You're going to notice that there is a welcome center. We're going to talk about the campus grounds, the exhibit center, research center, cafe, theater, and art gallery. The first thing I'd like to discuss with the outside of the Chickasaw Cultural Center is what we call the campus grounds. And this is composed of 184 acres. It's beautiful. It includes our statues and sculptures, various gardens, an amphitheater, a bridge that connects over the water, a sky bridge to see the cultural center from a eagle eye view, the honor garden, and a water pavilion. The slide is going to show pictures of the various statues and sculptures surrounding the outside of the Chickasaw Cultural Center. It's located all around the Chickasaw Cultural Center. The first one I want to talk about is the arrival, and that is the third image right here with the blue background. And this is signifying the Chickasaw people's arrival to Indian country following the Indian removal from their ancestral homelands in Mississippi. It signifies our hope and resilience into finding our new homes, making these new lands our homes. This statue alone is over 9 feet tall. The second statue is the warrior. Most people are pretty familiar with the warrior, and it's also known as Toshka Chikasha Hadik Holba. I'm hoping I said that right. I am Native, but Native language is not one of my strong points, but I'm learning. And so this statue, the warrior, honors an 18th century Chickasaw warrior. You'll notice his regalia that he has on. He has a roached hairstyle with a feather hair ornament on the top of his head. He wears a bear claw necklace around his neck. He has bow and arrows on his back. And he's also wearing, off the bottom of his feet, he is wearing Chickasaw pucker toe moccasins. And this is signifying our warrior lifestyle. It's pre-European contact in the 1540s, and also is reflecting our unconquerable warrior spirit that we still have today. The third image is the second image in the middle, featuring the two Native gentlemen. This is it's called Their Hunting, or Awata, and it features two hunters hunting for food. Each hunter carries bows with stone-tipped river cane arrows and river cane woven quivers on their back. Additionally, they have knives and sheaths that are worn around their necks. They're dressed in traditional hunting attire from the Mississippian period of 900 to 1400 AD. And you'll notice that their clothing, they're wearing buckskin breechcloth leggings and pucker toe moccasins. They also have waist belts that carry pipes. They have bags that allows them to forage, and they also have medicine pouches. They're lastly adorned with jewelry, and it's made of shell that signifies divine associations, rank, status, prior to governmental organization. This is back when we saw clans, and the warriors dress both for signifying their role within the tribe, but also might have been a little bit to intimidate other natives and other tribes. The last three statues that you're going to see are the round circle statues. These are known as the sun circles and the shell ornaments. There are, I believe, 4 at the Chickasaw Cultural Center. I could only get pictures of 3, but they're located throughout the campus. And the first one is the woodpecker. This is the first one right here. It symbolizes strength, courage, and determination of the Chickasaw people. The next one is the 4 crosses, which I could not find a picture of, but it signifies 4 directions or a cross. It represents our 4 seasons, directions, and logs of the sacred fire. The next one is the sun, which is this last one over here with the rocks around it. This is giving thanks to our creator, Abba Benelli, the giver of life and spirit. And the last one that you'll see on the Chickasaw Cultural Center's campus is the spider. And he represents the Chickasaw folklore of how spider brought fire to mankind on its back. Advance on and we'll talk about the gardens. There are various gardens located throughout Chickasaw Cultural Center, and maybe one of my favorite parts. So one of the gardens that you're going to see, the girl up in the corner is actually tending to this garden. It's known as the Three Sisters Garden. And if you're familiar with Chickasaw history, you'll know how symbolic that the three sister crops are to Chickasaw people. So essentially, these are the plants of corn, beans, and squash. They rely on each other to survive and thrive, and they're planted every spring. The corn is symbolic. It helps, it grows really tall and thin, and it gives the bean stems a firm natural ladder to attach to, so they can creep up. Beans and corn are then surrounded by the squash plants. They help keep moisture in and weeds out. Corn represents the eldest sister. She stands tall and strong in the center of the garden, while squash serves as the middle sister, guarding and protecting her siblings. And beans, of course, are the youngest sister. They lean on their family while also encouraging them to grow. This garden is located within the Chickasha and Choka traditional village, and every spring the Three Sisters celebration is held at the Chickasaw Cultural Center to signify the importance of growing and planting the plants together. Seeds of these are also provided to visitors during that celebration to try and encourage them to plant their own gardens using the Three Sister crops. The second garden that you're going to see is the butterfly garden. And you see the picture of the caterpillar at the very bottom of the screen, as well as the butterfly in the middle. These are both taken from the butterfly garden. And it contains pollinator-friendly plants, such as milkweed. It has beautiful butterfly statues and educative plaques to discuss the monarch butterfly's journey and to encourage measures to protect their population. As we know, they're nearing endangerment. So anything that can be done to try and encourage their pollinating and migration and to protect that population is vital. The last garden you'll see within the gardens of the Chickasaw Cultural Center is the spiral garden. You'll see in the upper corner with the flowers. It's in a spiral shape. Once again, spirals are very, very important to our culture. And it is located east of the Chickasha and Choka traditional village. And the spiral shape, again, is going to signify life. It's a never-ending journey. And it contains curving rows of fruits, vegetables, and herbs, as well as floral foliage. And it provides fresh produce actually for many of the entrees that you would be able to purchase from the Iampa Cafe, such as they have a Three Sisters stew there, and as well as like your pashofa and your Indian fried ribs, things like that. The bottom corner has a picture of it's the demonstration of the Three Sisters crop, so you can kind of see how the squash is planted on the outside of the corn and bean plants. Or I'm sorry, yeah, the corn and bean plants, the corn being in the middle grows tall and strong, and then the bean would grow up and spiral kind of up a ladder of the corn. Apologize, my screen is not wanting to work. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the amphitheater. I believe it's pronounced Chickasha Ababanili, or known as a place for sitting is the translation for that. This is an outdoor amphitheater located in the center campus of the Chickasaw Cultural Center. It features an open air venue type of environment. And this area is where we host a variety of events, such as stomp dance, which you'll see the picture on the side as a stomp dance demonstration, as well as concerts and cultural presentations. There's also a bell located in the middle, and it's used for special occasions and serves as homage to the Sunday church bells that call parishioners to meetings and meals. So, and yeah, I've actually partaked in a couple of stomp dances in that location during the visits. So it's really the neat part to get to be incorporated into our cultural songs and dance in that location. The next slide is discussing the Encana Bridge. Beautiful. Another one of my favorite places to go when I'm at the Chickasaw Cultural Center. This is known as the Friendship Bridge, and it connects the Chickasaw Cultural Center to the Chickasaw Nation Recreational Center. It's located on the southeast corner of the campus, and it's a collaborative link between the Chickasaw Nation and the National Park Service. It's a 190-foot bridge, and it runs over Rock Creek. This feature allows visitors to see the west and northern ends of the recreation center, which is also beautiful. If you get a chance to visit, I highly recommend it, especially at night. I apologize. My computer is delaying a little bit on my end. The next slide is discussing the Sky Bridge, also known as Aba Anoa Sky Bridge. It's a 40-foot tall bridge that allows you to climb up it, and it offers views of the Chickasha and Choka traditional village, as well as the Chickasaw Nation recreational area. This exhibit is known as the Honor Garden. I'm not sure on the pronunciation of that. I know that I would not say it correctly, but it translates to a place to honor. And this area also extremely beautiful. You'll notice there's a fountain in the middle. It's crafted with the natural elements. So it contains rock, granite, copper, and it's designed to kind of reflect the four directions. Also notice that symbolic spiral symbol that is important to Chickasaw culture. It also contains patterns that signify wind and water, and the sidewalk designs. And the fountain in the middle is a granite fountain. It's adorned with copper feathers and natural stone. It's always running. Surrounding the outside of this honor garden are plaques and pictures that signify the inductees to the Chickasaw Nation Hall of Fame. So just beautiful. Highly recommend this area too. This slide is discussing the Oka Ababanili Water Pavilion, which translates to a place for sitting, and contains a deck that overlooks a landscaped pond. And it has plaques and markers that discuss the importance of water to Chickasaw culture, as well as discusses Chickasaw clans, which predate Chickasaw government formation. Visitors also have the ability to feed and purchase feed to feed the fish or nani or turtles, Loxie. And you'll see a Loxie turtle sculpture in the picture. We're now going to start talking about exhibits that you will see within the Chickasha Poya Exhibit Center at the Chickasaw Cultural Center. And this area, the translation translates to We Are Chickasaw, and it displays interactive exhibits that engage the sight, sounds, touch, and imagination to discuss the Chickasaw spirit as well as our history. Some of the exhibits that you might see here talk about Chickasaw history from the time of European contact, as well as trading practices, our warrior persona, and outfits, as well as the lives of modern day Chickasaws. Some artifacts include the different types of shakers that you might be familiar with that the Chickasaw stomp dancers wear. Both ones that are composed of tortoise shells as well as the modern day can shakers. Again, I apologize for the delay. My computer's running a little slow. So these are some of the exhibits that you'll see within the Chickasha-Poya Exhibit Center. We're going to talk about 1 through 3. These pictures 1 through 3 are included pictures within the spirit forest. And this area signifies the importance of the Chickasaw people connection to nature, Mother Earth, and our creator, Abba Benili. They have interactive exhibits, include visuals, audios that make the forest come alive. And it transitions from day, you'll see the lighting changes from day to night. It features different types of rock formations, trees, foliage, and animal sculptures that are native to Chickasaw cultures and our homelands. Image 4 is of the stomp dance room, and this room portrays the importance of stomp dancing to Chickasaw culture. Within the middle of it is a fire that is always burning. So as you're walking around, moving with the stomp dancers, you feel like you are actually moving with the stomp dancers. And the burning fire continuously burns in the middle. Image 5 is of the Council House Orientation Theater. I apologize. And this is designed to mimic the council houses that served as central meeting hubs for the Chickasaws in the past. Council houses are also where a lot of treaty signings were done in the past. I guess more so pre Indian removal era. And this room features a welcome video placed continuously to introduce guests to the Chickasha-Poya Exhibit Center. The last and final image on this slide is of the removal corridor. This features sculptures as well as art, sounds, and stories that discuss the painful history of Chickasaws during the removal era and passing of the Indian Removal Act of 1830. So it pulls at your heartstrings, very emotional, but also extremely beautiful and important. Okay, this room is the Afatama room, a place for a meeting together. And this area houses art collections and exhibits, as well as features a classroom and meeting space. Some examples of some past exhibits include the Native artist exhibits, features art from different Native artists, not just Chickasaw, but also other Southeastern Native tribe artists, as well as differences. Was an apron exhibit showing aprons from different times that the women of the Chickasaw Nation would have worn throughout history, as well as an exhibit on the Dulles Report, sculptures, and Ofi-Tobi, which translates to white dog. Also extremely important, and our folklore story, as well as just the white dog is just very, very symbolic to Chickasaw culture. Next, I want to talk about the Halisso Study of Chickasaw History and Culture Center. Halisso translates to book, and within this area located on the Chickasaw Cultural Center's campus, visitors would be able to view Chickasaw artifacts, as well as folk tales, culture, language, and historical generational accounts. This location is a 20,000 square foot library. It focuses on Chickasaw history as well as the history of other Southeast tribes. It's really an interesting place because it contains our genealogical records, not just of Chickasaws, but also Southeastern tribes. This area also hosts oral history workshops, scholarly lectures, conferences, digitation events, roundtable discussions, and book signings. It is climate and light controlled to help protect our artifacts such as genealogical records, photo archives, and historic documents. This area, you do have to put in for an in-person appointment to view most of the artifacts, but there's also an online database to search for hundreds of documents, photos, 3D images, paintings, and other artifacts. You can visit cncc.chickasaw.net to view our online collection. Efforts are also constantly being made to try to find funding to help further preserve our history and archive it. This is the picture of the Chickasha and Choka traditional village. It's modeled after a 1700 Chickasaw style village, and Chickasha and Choka translates to Chickasaw house. So within this area, you'll find recreations of a council house. There's 2 summer homes, 2 winter homes, a replica mound, a corn crib, stickball field, and a food storage, or I'm sorry. The corn crib is a food storage building that was used as a small shelter. It's raised 7 or 8 feet from the ground on posts. You'll see the first picture there as an example of a corn crib. And they're polished. The posts were polished so that mice and other rodents could not crawl up the structure and get into the food. The food was kept there to help have food to feed your families during the cold winter months. In this area, they would store food supplies as well as sheltering. This area would shelter your goods from weather and animals. So such crops to sustain our people would include things like sunflowers, peas, corn, beans, squash, tomatoes, tobacco, melons. And then the outside of our village would feature a stockade fence to keep out intruders and protect our village. You'll see the last image kind of discussing, although blurry, is discussing the differences of the summer and winter home. Summer being on the top, winter in the middle, and then that stockade fence is on the bottom. I thought it was also important to discuss the differences of the summer and winter homes. So the summer and winter homes known, first ones are the summer homes, Champali, Choka, or summer house. They're lighter structures and they're designed to provide shade to the Chickasaw people, protect them from the sun and its elements. You'll notice that the timber on this that form the walls of the summer house were made from thin strips of pine or cypress. This bottom one is also a summer home. They're built in the shape of a rectangle with a long peaked roof made from split saplings or bundles of cane. This more tent-like roof allowed for the house to be vented to let the breeze pass through easily through the building, but also keep the sun and other elements out. And according to some oral history accounts, these houses did not have walls that were attached until it rained. When rain came in, the walls were placed against the house and interlaced with rope on the existing supporting poles. Summer houses had floors attached to supporting poles, which were placed approximately 2 or 3 feet from the ground, and items could be stored underneath the floors of those houses for extra storage. Now, the winter houses, they're the circular sculptures, or not sculptures, I'm sorry, the circular styled houses that are here. And they're known as Hastola Choka, or winter houses. And these were more built for warmth and insulation. Timbers used in this construction were a lot heavier, and the outside walls are covered with clay and stomped wet grass and crushed shells. Unlike the summer home that had the sharp angles and was rectangular in shape, winter home symbolizes a snail shell. So it's circular, but it also spirals on the inside. This helps to keep the freezing cold wind and rain elements from blowing into the house, and provides an extra level of protection. The narrow, winding entrance could easily defend against enemy intrusion. It's harder to get into the home because of the design. This type of house typically has a circular floor plan. It's preferred to be built heavily insulated for use in bitter cold weather. Floors of this were sometimes dug into the ground 2 to 3 feet and topped with, the roof was topped in the center by 4 large posts that were laid out in a square, and then covered with clay. Before it was covered, and once it was dry, the roof was covered with shingles, which is way ahead of, you know, architectural design at that time. But we did have our own shingles made of tree bark and grass that were laid down on these, on the top of the circular roof. And sometimes they had the curved edge at the end. So very important, and interesting to see the different types of designs that I would consider were way ahead of architecture design and homes design at the time. Okay, now I want to talk about some of the reflective aspects of the Chickasaw Cultural Center and things that I think they're doing respectfully well in regards to Chickasaw culture and religious practices. So first, I think that the Chickasaw Cultural Center is centered on educating visitors of Chickasaw culture and religious practices. I think they do a great job with that. Exhibits within the Chickasha-Poya Exhibit Center teach the history of the Chickasaw people. They don't refrain from discussing traumatic moments such as Indian removal, which I think is important. Additionally, many portions of the Chickasaw Cultural Center include that symbolic spiral symbol and design is located throughout the campus, as well as important symbols to Chickasaw culture. There's also multiple exhibits composed of natural materials such as wood, stone, things like that. And the Chickasaw Cultural Center also, I believe, does a great job at connecting Chickasaws and telling the story of the importance of nature to Chickasaw people, as well as the bond between Chickasaws and Abba Benelli, our creator. They're woven throughout the campus in different various exhibits, such as the Spirit Garden and the Sky and Water Pavilion. Additionally, just about all of the sculpture and art is done by Chickasaw or other native artists, which I think is important to Chickasaw culture. There's also the Halissa Research Center, which provides resources and personnel to assist Chickasaw citizens with tracing their Chickasaw lineage, which I think is a great thing in helping preserve and protect our culture. It's also helping to aid in connecting individuals to their heritage that they might not have had before establishment of the Hawassa Research Center. While I do think the Chickasaw Cultural Center is doing a great job reflecting our culture, I do think that there are some non-reflective aspects that could be improved or maybe touched on a little bit better just to further teach and preserve our Chickasaw history. So first, I think that there are some exhibits that I would argue are more focused on beauty than culture. These include things like the Honor Garden. There's also a theater, which I didn't have a slide on, but there is a indoor seated theater that it's just like pretty much any movie theater that they do take funding, I guess. You have to pay to go inside of the theater. And I just think that they're not so much used for cultural or religious practices or teachings as more they're used just for like entertainment purposes. So I also think that elders should be given more of a preferential seating accommodations to the front of areas during tribal events, as well as the option to escort tribal events. That isn't so much reflective of like exhibits and things at the Chickasaw Cultural Center, but I do think with knowing myself being Chickasaw, how important elders are to our culture. And I just think that that could maybe be incorporated a little bit better. I would also like to see further inclusion of tribal music played throughout the cultural center, not just outside stomp dances and events, but I would like to hear the music played throughout all the time. I also think that we could have a designated area and more planting of native flora, trees, and shrubs throughout the Chickasaw Cultural Center, or even just a designated garden would be nice. I also don't think we do a great job as we could discussing the significance of native animals, as well as the tribal names of those animals. Animals, as we know, are deeply important to Chickasaw people. We believe that animals have spirits, and they're incorporated into many of our ancient folklore stories that teach life lessons. So I think that that aspect is not featured as much as I would like it to be. Lastly, I would like to see, I think we could improve on the importance of discussing the different types of tribal dances and the history of legislation surrounding those. As we've learned in this class, many of those dances were almost outlawed, were considered taboo, and were illegal for a lot of times. So a lot of tribes had to practice their native dances, their spiritual dances in secrecy. And a lot of that culture, I think, was lost as a result of that. So it would be nice to show the significance of the different types of dances and how our people had to fight to protect what was sacred to us. Okay, reflection of evidence. There were some things that I thought were concerning that could be changed to provide a more meaningful, rich experience. The first being I would like to see the inclusion of Chickasaw recovered artifacts. More in a museum display type of viewing. We do have, as we've seen in the Chickasha Poya Exhibit Center, some artifacts behind glass that are available to the public to be seen. But I would like to see an exhibit that focuses on the recovered artifacts from our Chickasaw homelands in Mississippi. I think that that would help bridge the gap between present day Chickasaw Nation territory and the homelands following removal. The second thing I would like to see that's a little concerning, but I really think could build on a more rich experience is information regarding our Chickasaw ancestral repatriation and burial techniques. The Chickasaw Nation has a burial team and department who make it their mission to go out and do repatriation efforts to bring our ancestors back to the homelands. It's a whole process and it's beautiful. And I think that discussing that would be highly beneficial. I think that this is a missed opportunity to discuss things like NAGPRA and our reburial ceremony. I think that is an important part of our history as well as our current day, one of our missions, and I would like to see that touched on a little more. Third, I think that being a Chickasaw employee, and this is more employee centered, but pre-COVID, there was a lot more opportunities for Chickasaw employees to engage and interact with the Chickasaw Cultural Center. So I would like to see the employee outreach reintegrated, as well as employee engagement activities, classes. And pre-COVID, there was also a tour for individuals going through orientation where they traveled and transported these employees to the Chickasaw Cultural Center to learn a little bit more about our culture. I think that was important and vital, and I would like to see that re-added. There's also content specialists that I think if they opened that up, I know there's one just for the theater part of the cultural center, but I think that they could also have specially content specialists for the artifacts and museum portions too. I think would be extremely important, and constantly adding and changing things within the cultural center. It's going to keep that engagement as well as just teaching. It's just going to keep growing that. Next, I think that there is a lack of, I'm sorry, my voice cracked. There's a lack of Chickasaw history regarding the development of where our tribe is currently. We didn't always have the business, the government, our amazing enterprise systems that we have in place now. Our nation is huge and ever growing, with 200 plus services available to citizens at large. So some history of how we got there would be super beneficial. There's also no information on the history of Chickasaw Nation governors, and I think that is vital. I think that there needs to be some kind of exhibit discussing that. They've all been important impacts to get us and our tribe where we are today. There's also, I think there could also be more accommodations made, especially for those who are hard of hearing, even ESL speakers, things like translators and subtitles at events and during movies would be impactful. There's also a lack of discussion surrounding the importance of animals to Chickasaws. as previously discussed. We know that Chickasaw people believe that all animals have spirits, that the animals and Chickasaws are on the same level, and animals are incorporated within our folklore. I would like to see more discussing that, as well as maybe teaching the Chickasaw words for different animals, as well as the importance of clans, which were also built around different types of animals. Ideas to enrich that experience. I think that it would be important to introduce different statutes that are related to our history, as well as a museum environment that took forever to get into place. I would also like to see further discussions about the repatriation of our Chickasaw ancestors. Once again, I think that NAGPRA could be discussed here, as well as the various museum acts, and the history regarding our Chickasaw ancestral remains and reburials. Prior to 1990s, many Indian remains were held in museums, just in archives. And so, and anybody could have our ancestral remains. So that's not a history that many people know about. And I think that would be great to have incorporated within one of the exhibits within the Chickasha Exhibit Center. Also, I think that we could have a perfect opportunity to I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm sorry. We could have areas where they're, I would say, designated selfie areas placed throughout visitor hotspots on the Chickasaw Nation Cultural Center campus. Things like around the statues, our landscaping, the traditional village, as well as an engagement opportunity for visitors to get more active on social media. I think that that is a huge area where we're lacking, and social media is such a huge audience and opportunity to grow. I think that themed celebrations could be more publicized and centered around holidays. One example that came to mind was the approaching a Mother's Day would be a perfect opportunity to have an exhibit that discusses maternal figure importance in Chickasaw culture. We know that clans were typically established on the mother's lineage side, as well as the importance of mothers being the caretakers, the homemakers, the providers, while the men were out being the hunter-gatherers. As well as we've also learned that some tribal citizenship is calculated based on the mother's native lineage. I think that that would be a great opportunity to do things that are centered around having celebrations centered around certain holidays and things like that, and tying that to Chickasaw culture. Additionally, I would love to see an exhibit on tribal instruments, how they're made, the differences in their sounds, and how those instruments grew and evolved over time. Lastly is something that I personally got to experience when I was a child, and it stuck with me, is a demonstration on tannings of hides and skins of animals, stretching those hides for clothing and instrument purposes. When I was a child, I actually got to see a demonstration where a man was stretching, I believe, was it deer? I think it was deer hide, how he was dyeing it, and the process of stretching it and how long that took, and the machines he used. And he actually was using those skins to cover handmade drums. So I thought that that was really interesting. And me being a child and that sticking with me, I think would be a great thing to have for future generations. I'm going to end this presentation just kind of mentioning some of the influential statutes that relate to museums as well as getting us to where we are now, Chickasaw wise. Things like the Archaeological Resources Protection Act, or ARPA, the Indian Removal Act, Indian Reorganization Act, NAGPRA, as we know, huge in getting us to where we can even have a cultural center and have exhibits and things on display. The National Museum of the American Indian Act, as well as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act and the Merriam Report. Last slide is my references, and I thank you for viewing my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer in the best way that I could. Thank you.